Hey guys, so now we're going to talk about how we can edit our audio since we've recorded everything in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is play back your audio and listen to it just to make sure you're good with everything. Make sure that when you have your tracks on here, that they are not one on top of the other for voices. Otherwise, all the voice tracks will play at the same time because this is going to be the order it plays in. So for example, you can see my pink one here, right? If I had it here underneath and then I pressed play, I would hear both of these at the same time, which should not work. So make sure you have this dragged over so that they line up. So kind of like end to end, like a little puzzle piece. And then same here with this last one. And then to preview your track, you're just going to make sure this little purple line here tells you where in your track you're going to start listening to. I'd recommend dragging it all the way to the beginning. And then you can either hit the space bar or press play down here at the bottom. Listen to your track, make sure you're happy with it. If there's anything you need to re-record, do that. Then once all your tracks are great and you're ready, then we can start editing. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get rid of any long, quiet pauses you may have. So a lot of times when I record, I will hit the record button, but then I won't get started right away. So you'll see like here, right, I have this really long flat line. And then these little waves, that shows you where my voice is. So the bigger the wave, the louder the sound is. So these long flat lines are areas of absolute quiet. So you might want to trim those down if you have a really long one. And that's a lot of it's going to depend on when you're listening, how it sounds. So here, if I click on my little track here, you'll see these little arrows here in the bottom, and those are my trim tools. So here I can take this tool and I can drag it. And do you see how that line starts to disappear? So you want to leave a little bit because otherwise you'll start to cut your voice off. But if your line is really long, you can trim off a little bit. So there I just trimmed a tiny bit off. So if you want, and again, you can listen to it, see how it sounds. If it's too short or too long, you can go back and you're just going to keep playing with it until it sounds about right. So once your audio is all edited and you're happy with that, then we can go in and we can add in our intro music if you want to add some music and maybe an intro to your podcast, introducing the topic and introducing you, the podcast host. So to do that, I'm going to add a new track. And this time I want to add in music. And what's great with Soundtrap is I have a bunch of pre-recorded, what they call loops, or just chunks of sound that play over and over again. The same thing, that's what a loop is. So I'm going to go down here to Open Loop Library. And some of them are just going to be really boring, like one note that just repeats because musicians will use that to make music. But we want to find something that has a little bit more sound to it. So you can play around and find different ones, but you could get lost here playing sounds forever. So I recommend only spending 1 or 2 minutes trying to find one that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what you're going to find is one that you like, use that one. So I know for me, I like this bass retro funk a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just click on the one I like. You can search different sounds. So if you know you really like piano, you could look at different piano sounds. If you know the jazz group is pretty good for sounds, like just as for actual music sounds. Guitar has some really good ones. So once you found the one that you like, you're going to click it and you're going to drag it over. And you're going to see it sets up a really long track. So to get out of here, I'm just going to click this little music icon that takes that out of the way. And this is a really long track. I don't want to have my music playing for 20 seconds. So first I'm going to drag it because I want it to start, right? That's how I want my podcast to start. And then to shorten it, this little arrow, circle arrow here, that just cuts down how many loops I'm playing. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to drag it over until I shorten it. So one thing you can see here, a tool I forgot to point out, is up at the top. You click this little gear icon. This like chooses how it's going to show your measurement at the top. It's like a little ruler. And usually it starts with beats. I liked it for podcasts, use time, right? Because we're not doing beats for music. We're doing time. So you know about how long your podcast is going to take. So I'm going to click time. But here now I can see, right, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I can see about how long my intros and my tracks are going to be. So for my retro funk intro, I'm probably going to make it be, I'll start with 10 or about, we'll start with maybe 8 seconds for now. I can always change it. So that's how you start to input all of your funk intro music, and edit your audio. On our next one, we're going to talk about how we can start to put it all together and have a finished product.